and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm.
Some of this seems half legit, OP, so allow me to share a little anecdote. Never been a believer, and this one time hasn't really changed that. I still would like to believe concurrent hallucination or radio waves are some shit fucked with our minds. 12 or 13 years old, out in country with friends, big family. Him, younger brother, and myself walk mile down road to abandoned house a few times. At first we only broke into the barn to swing from old ropes. I don't know how they didn't snap. A lot of animal shit, so we didn't stay long. We broke into shed with old car and fucked that shit up. Still feel bad to that day. If I ever vandalize, I like it to be corporations and the like. Eventually broke into house. Noticed many animal skeletons in old stove. Shit on walls that I would later realize to be satanic pentagrams. Okay, listen up, cause I never post on X and won't again, but this shit happened. We went there during the day, and after we got the lay of the house we walked pretty freely. Steps were a bitch to get down, but we made it and casually walked through rubble to foyer/front room, which we had climbed through boarded up door. We fucking strolled into this room, not noticing there was something large crouched in the corner. It slowly stood and looked at us. It was a huge woman that was bone thin, bone white, and black eyes. I guess it wasn't a woman, but that's what it closely resembled if one could be out of Auschwitz and on roids at the same time. We are halfway into the room and this thing just stands/crouches up and stares at us. My skin is crawling right now going back. Long story short, we ran through a broken window and my buddy's brother was badly cut. Had shit to pay when we got back. No one bought story and parents came out and found nothing. For a while I figured it was some freaky art students from the town's college, but over a decade later and I know it wasn't. Thanks for consideration in case anyone is still here and wants to give me theories. Interesting thread, allow me to contribute. I'm a contracting and HVAC load consultant and have been for many years. I moved to Orange County in 1998 for work and eventually found myself leading a very small project on the upcoming decommission of MCAS El Toro. My job was to basically go into each one of the barracks and outlying buildings that even the Marines hadn't been using for years and tell my boss which ones was worth keeping in the original condition, which turned out to be almost none, for reasons that I will explain. Well, work started in early 2000 on our Site A work area, which was a number of old family-style two-story barracks along the northwest side of the base. For the most part these were uneventful, only running into occasional wild animal as I checked for buildings with salvageable ducting. The first few weeks of work passed without incident. Close Site A, open Site B. This work area is straight southwest along the NW perimeter and was comprised of smaller, older one-story barracks and offices. Here's where shit starts to hit the fan. Site B is La Sorna on our paperwork because I love me some dinos, is much smaller than Site A and shouldn't take as many man-hours to go through, so I jump ahead in my assignment and start inspecting the larger buildings on the other side of the base. Well, 2 days into work, I get a call from my boss while I'm out in the field. The guys say they found something they want you to take a look at, and they're refusing to get back to work until you do. Fine, I say, and I jump in my truck and take my time meandering across the airfield, enjoying the break from playing phone tag with military personnel all day. When I get there, all 6 of my clean crew guys are standing around outside looking nervous. These are big guys, most of them are the kind that get paid to go through abandoned homes and tear out their rotten foul guts for remodel or tear down. I know 2 of them personally, and the one that's directly in charge of their group is a close friend of mine. Let's call him Matt. Matt looks considerably less worried than everyone else and walks up to my truck shaking his head. He looks apologetic and says sorry that I have to deal with this, before leading me into one of the larger squat brown offices. I'm expecting to see something utterly foul, like a pile of human fecal matter or a large rotting animal corpse, which in hindsight probably wouldn't have really irked those guys in the first place, knowing where they've worked. I was completely unprepared for what I saw. Let's start with the stench. since that's the first thing that I noticed. It was so thick and foul I could almost feel it touching my skin, and it smelled so beyond disgusting that I had to steel myself before taking another step. It was like a couple months of organic decay punctuated by mold, shit, and some bizarre chemical scent that I hadn't noticed in any of the other buildings. Taking that second step took a kind of courage that can only be described as iron stomach. The next thing I noticed were the walls. The tan top layer of paint was peeling away in long strips and clumps, revealing splotchy, dark, wet-looking paint beneath it that was rife with mold. At the time, I was wondering why this building was in such awful shape as compared to the ones directly surrounding it. Matt was looking at me carefully, and only then did I notice that he seemed a little off. Now I've known Matt for years, since long before I moved to Southern California, and I cannot stress enough how stoic and stable this guy is under pressure, but right then his body language said he was on full alert. Well, I'm thoroughly disgusted at this point, and Matt leads me around the bend of the entry hallway, carefully checking around the corner before he turns. His body language is really weirding me out at this point, and I'm starting to get a little on edge myself. As we turn, Matt steps out of the way so I have a clear view of the main room. Most of the furnishings have been pushed to the edges of the room and up-ended, leaving a clear space in the middle except for one item. Sitting there, dead in the center of the room, is a strange-looking stone pillar with what looks like concave bowl carved into the top. Matt is silent and looking at me with wide eyes as I walk towards it. The floor is tacky and my footsteps are loud squelches as I take a few steps into the room to get a better look at the pillar thing. Sorry for length, I'll get to the point. As I get closer, the chemical scent in the area gets thicker and almost moist, and I'm regretting leaving my respirator on my passenger seat. I'm close enough now to see the pillar clearly. It's rectangular, about 4 feet high and 1 foot across, and completely smooth like well-poured concrete. The concave spot is about 4 inches deep and darkened like something's been burnt in it. I did not take the time to run my finger through what looked like soot, but the whole ceiling directly above this altar was charred black and sooty. Still trying to rationalize, I look around the room. Matt hasn't moved from his spot in the hallway and still hasn't said more than 4 words since we walked in, again totally atypical of this guy. It's then that I notice the symbols all over the walls and that gross, rotting moldy paint. To this day, the only thing I've seen that looks even remotely like them are some of the runic sigils threads we frequently see on /x/. I'm not talking pentagrams or hieroglyphics, but strange designs that are spaced all around the room and sometimes interconnect. I got closer to the nearest one and could see clear evidence of some sort of tool or sharp object having been used to create the marks, and that the others are similarly carved or scratched into the surface, and boy do those marks look fresh. I mean, no mold growing in them, no paint, nothing. At this point, I'm starting to what the fuck, but am still rationalizing it as a bunch of people just getting together like a cult and being creepy for fun, since people apparently do that. It's right then that Matt and I hear approaching footsteps coming from the entrance hallway. We turn, expecting to see one of the other workers coming in to discuss something, but the footsteps just stop before ever coming around the corner. I've had enough of the stench and strangeness and I'm ready to leave, so I walk towards the exit. So I'm leaving, fuck this place, daylight awaits in a land free of God-hating stench. The second, and I mean the second my foot first touched the ground from my first step toward the exit, the whole building shook. Only for a split second, like when you're standing next to someone at home and they jump, and you feel the ground shake a little. I think to myself, the fuck was that? And hardly have time to finish my thought before the footsteps that we originally heard are now sprinting away from us, back out of the hallway. Matt spins, immediately jumps straight back at me, his face pale and goosebumps all over his arms. I shit you not, I could see how scared he was. He turns and looks at me with a "did you just fucking hear that?" expression. Let's get the fuck out of here, I said, and we quickly make way to the exit. Rounding the corner, we don't see anyone, but the door is now more than halfway closed. I specifically left the door open when I entered because of how absurdly awful the stench was, and now in the sliver of outline, I can see something hanging on the back of the door that I didn't notice on my way in. It's a fresh animal skull, tongue and eyes still in place, but missing almost all of the meat you would normally see. I'm nearly on the verge of soiling myself, and I asked Matt if he or any of the guys had seen this, and he vehemently shakes his head, adamantly stating that it hadn't been there before and that the other guys could back him up on that. There's a large nail going straight through the skull, attaching it to the door and adding to the whole grotesque feel. I knock the door open with my foot and we get the fuck out of there. We get out front and back to the workers, who are all lounging in more or less the same positions we left them in minutes before. I asked them if anyone had entered the building after we did and they look at me like I'm crazy, which I suppose they thought I was for going in there. I ask again thinking that skull had to come from one of the Mexican guys. Carnicerias are about the only place you can find a whole sheep or goat head, which is what I think the skull was, in Southern California, and that thing was fresh. They again look at me like I'm crazy and ask, what skull? I'm very thoroughly nopia in at this point, and a few of the braver guys venture to the door to have a look. They don't look twice, and their expressions tell me it's still there. They all fervently denied having been there when they first went in, just like Matt said, and also reconfirm that no one came in after us. So, resolution here. I call my boss and immediately tell him what just happened, and that I fully condone my crew not re-entering the building on grounds of possible health concerns. He goes quiet for a minute, then tells me he's been in touch with someone in charge at the MCAS and will call me back. I never hear back from him on the matter, but the next morning in the office, there's signed demolitions paperwork marking that building and the surrounding ones I'd previously greenlit. The strange part is I'm the person in the company that handles all of the demo/reno paperwork, and the paperwork requires a signature from myself and a witness. I got no explanation, and was told to drop it upon inquiry. Well, that's my story. I know it was long and not that spooky, but it was nice to tell it again. I haven't in years. Matt and I fell out a little after that, and he left his job. He wasn't ever really the same after that. I would love to hear some speculation, and thanks for reading. Alright guys, I'll do mine. Sorry, on phone so no green texting. So here goes. Be me, 15, 9th grade. My HS was on an old Airforce Base. The base itself was decommissioned, but it was used as a logistics airport and still had some stuff there. About 100 plus abandoned houses, covering several miles. 3 abandoned hospitals, apartment buildings, all that shit. Plus an active prison a few miles away. Cool place for a high school, right? Anyhow, after main classes were over, me and my group of 5 friends would bike/walk/skateboard to a little cafe a mile or 2 away. Nothing spooky there, it's like a few years old. So me and the group were like, hey, let's go check out these buildings. Why the fuck not? JPG. So we start off with some old 3-story apartment buildings. There was 3 of the facilities. Me and my group decide to gather stuff to be defensive with. We gather sharp pipes and the like. The base wasn't active for 15 years, so we didn't fucking know what to expect. Being our stupid selves, we looked through the buildings. Nothing exciting. No satanic shit or nothing. So after we got bored with the apartment buildings, we decide to look at other shit. So we check out this entirely wooden preschool/kindergarten facility. This thing was fucking creepy. It was very poorly lit naturally. There was 2 big main rooms, you couldn't hardly see the other end from one side. Plus it had pentagrams, used candles, and fucking blood. But being our shit-stained selves, we didn't leave right away. After a few minutes, me and one guy go outside to wait for the 3. Then our friend, who we will name Bob for now, comes fucking bolting outside. I mean bloody fucking Mary sprinting outside. He looks so damn scared and he's panting. We start talking to him and the other 2 come out and he just keeps saying, I saw him, and none of us know what the fuck he is talking about. So after we left our pipes and shit in a certain spot for the next day, since we can't take it, then we get lunch. Next day, We go to get the pipes and stuff and it's all gone. Just all not there. We noped the fuck out of there. The following Monday we decide to not go over there and instead go check out some of the houses and stuff. So we look at a few of them and nothing really exciting in the first few. The day after we check out a hospital. It has the shape of a big plus and is 3 stories tall. So why not? We all go check it out, few medical stuffs here and there. Tables, chairs, few TVs, the likes. Plus tons of heroin user needles, so we made fucking sure not to trip. Then our dumbass friend Bob loses his shit again. He screams that we needed to leave so we run out with him. Well, the building had an alarm that we had tripped, so as we were running out it goes off and we run to the cafe. We get there and there's a fucking ton of cops going to the alarm. 8 or 9 cars with AK-9 show up and kinda search around. They never really talk to us about it. Since the alarm had gone off we were lying low for about a month before we started again. Plus our friend got into a car accident and couldn't run for a bit because of his leg. So once we were going back we checked out this building. It looked to me to be like some sort of office facility that was obviously abandoned. It was boarded up in some spots, weeds everywhere, parking lot with those concrete barrier things to stop cars, etc. etc. So I think, let's check inside. So I go up to the front door and press my face to the glass to look in. It looks like it was used just that day. Chairs, paintings, TVs, desks, everything still intact. Guys? .jpg. Pentagrams everywhere with the occasional needle. Bob and the car accident friend come over next to me and we all see something in the corner of our visions that looked like someone running. We flip shit and call the others over and they just do the typical, haha whatever. You guys are tards. But I swear to fucking God we all saw the same shit. Well, we poked around the furnished building a little more and didn't notice anything else. So the following Saturday night I was out with my GF, her sis, her friend, the friend's mom, just driving around having fun. I had my favorite type of music blasting, so they wanted to see my school. Okay, why not? So we go by it at about 10:30 p.m. and there's no light so it isn't really visible. On the way out we drive past the furnished building and there's someone standing in the fucking road, god damn it, and the mom slammed her damn brakes and we screeched to stop. By the time I looked back up it was gone and we basically left right after that. The women in the car had no idea about the stuff from before with my friends. The Monday when I went back, the moment I stepped on campus the principal and a teacher started interrogating me about if we had been poking around. Well, I just pulled a triple D. Deny, deny, deny. They do the same with my bros when they arrived and they got nothing on us. So we laid low for a few days and just discussed it quietly at school. Turns out there was a suicide on base, like 35 years ago and it was on the complete opposite side so we weren't really worried about that too much. So after we stopped laying low we kinda snuck to that same building, and we found a way in through a door. This time it wasn't so fucking dimly lit. There was good light in most rooms, lots of windows. But a shit ton of dust. So we quietly and slowly looked around the bottom floor for a while. Nothing too spooky for us at that point. So we were like fuck it. .jpg, let's check up the next floor. See, I've never been one to do edgy stuff. I don't do stuff that's stupid, or dangerous or stuff like that. I think edgy teens were fucking tards. I wasn't shy though. I didn't have giant steel testicles, but I wasn't afraid to be outgoing and social and such. So I'm like time to man the fuck up and I basically told them I'd go up first. I've got a bit of a naturally leading personality, and I love teamwork. It's better to be recognized as a team versus a single person. So I kinda took to it good, but at the same time the last few days had me fucking terrified. So we go up a wide flight of stairs. It was only like 10 stairs, and they were probably 20 feet from one wall to the next. So we kinda all went up at once. That's when things got different. The second story was trashed as fuck. Shit's broken yo.jpg. Floors damaged, walls tore apart, chairs smashed, desks flipped, etc. etc. After seeing this we got more timid. Why is this floor fucking trashed and the first isn't? What the fuck? We never discovered why. One of us thought that maybe someone had placed the stuff on the first floor to look all nice so maybe people wouldn't take much thought to it. We never really determined that part. Anywho, we stayed as a group and looked around the second floor and it was identical to the first except for a few things. It was obviously trashed, it was a little less well lit, and the end of the hall had a closet at the end. We didn't know it was a closet until we checked it. I'll get to that. So we kinda clear the rooms to avoid surprises of wild animals freaking us the fuck out / homeless bum / Adolf Hitler in a dolphin suit playing Jenga with Madonna. Ya know, just checking to be sure. So we get to the last few rooms and Bob opens the closet. Dusty shit in there. I think it was a bucket and some other bullshit stuff. Trash mostly. But what caught our attention was the pipe resting in the corner. It was more shiny so it got our notice. It was one of the pipes that we had found when looking through the apartments. Wah. So Bob picks it up and we kinda all had the same face like, what the fuck is that doing here? And Bob's face was just priceless. He looked at us genuinely speechless as to what he was looking at. We just said God damn it we are gonna get murdered or some shit and went outside the building without any issue. After this we had the day off and I left for vacation so I'll sum up what they did. The other 4 just looked around some while I was gone. They found another pipe from the apartments on the ground outside the building, and Bob lost his shit 2 more times because he swore he saw some fucker. When I came back they were ready to go back to the buildings. So we went ahead and did exactly that. We searched that building again, and we noticed one thing. One damn thing. Was not where it was originally. It was a desk on the 2nd story. It was like 8 feet from where we remembered it and none of us moved it. We constantly had the pipes at this point, and one of us had a badass pocket knife. Who knows how long he had it? Maybe the entire year before? Anyways, we stopped going to that building because it was freaky and boring after a while. Some of the houses were torn the fuck apart, and others were mostly in good shape. The ones closer to roads were typically more damaged than the secluded ones. But here's where this gets awesome. We were going through an area we hadn't really checked out before. We weren't really on guard, which ends up being a mistake. We went into a house and this fucking guy jumps up and fucking tackles our friend Jack. We were in kinda a line. Jack, Bob, me, Knife Boy and the last guy, and turns toward us and Bob clubs him in the fucking face with a pipe, knocking the guy clean down and I think unconscious for a brief moment. I grabbed Jack and kinda helped / dragged him away from the guy who Bob hit. I gotta say, for that moment, Bob was our fucking hero. Knife Boy called the police and we kinda watched the guy making sure he didn't try to pull some shit on us. Like 3 or 4 minutes later quite a few cops, including a fucking helicopter, show up. I thought we were gonna get fucking chewed out by them. The cops pull up, kinda looking at us and we just drop the pipes and stuff, don't wanna get killed by a firing squad of cops. They come over and move us back, then cuff the guy and pick him up and stuff him in a cop car. They get our statements and all, we left all the shit from before out of it. Medics arrive and check up on Jack. Real minor cuts and stuff. Then they call our parents to come get us. There was no further action with us. No questioning, further contact, nothing. Chances are it was some bum high on meth or something who fucking lived in the house and we just never caught him. Here's what keeps me thinking, what did Bob see? And what was the deal with the shadow? Why were the pipes and the desk moved? I figured that maybe someone drove by and saw the pipes and took them, but that changed when we found them. Any ideas what may have happened, guys? TLDR, shit's haunted, I'll tell you about it. OK/X/ never posted here before, but a couple of days ago there was a thread about military paranormal experiences. I could seem to find the thread and there wasn't much activity, but I really wanted to share some of the experiences I have had. The picture shown is of an army medical center that is said to have an old psych ward by the name of 11 West, which has been shut down for some time. I have stories about happenings here, as well as an old abandoned child development center that has a lot of paranormal activity. I will post experiences I've had myself, as well as the history behind these buildings if anyone is interested. OP here. First I'll start with the one I have heard the most about. The old abandoned CDC, Child Development Center. On this post, the military police have always gone to this building to have a spooky paranormal experience, and a lot of stuff really does happen. I digress. The tale behind the building is that an old lieutenant colonel who used to work there dug a tunnel behind his desk that led under one of the playgrounds outside. The tunnel was covered up by a concrete slab as to not be noticed by anyone who entered the office. Apparently he would crawl through the tunnel and take children who were playing under the jungle gym that it led out to and drag them back to his office and rape them violently. It is also said that there were a couple of children burned alive in the building, which I find hard to believe since there are no reports of a fire now any charred parts of the building. The tunnel is still in one of the offices, though the concrete slab is long gone. We'll post personal experiences soon. OP again. The name of the post is Fort Bliss and it is in El Paso, Texas. The hospital pictured is William Beaumont Army Medical Center, or WBMC. I am an MP in the 93rd MP Battalion. Rather not say my company. Anyway, we'll try, and green text may end up as epic fail. Be me. On swings shift, runs from 1800 to 0530. Always heard about old CDC haunting. Call Buddy, let's check it out. Buddy agrees, says he will meet me there. No one really ever patrols that building. Parked across street in patrol car waiting on mate. Staring at building and dicking around on phone. Loud woman sounding scream comes from CDC. Shit my pants.jpg. Call over radio. Anon, where are you? Refueling. What's up? I need you over here now. Waiting for mate, shaking in my boots. Mate pulls up, get out and walk over to CDC. Explain what I heard. Hands on weapon, taking no chances. We clear the building, no trace of anyone or any struggle. Anon jokes, maybe it's a ghost. Starts asking aloud, are there ghosts in here? Nothing. Lol, told you it's not haunted, bro. Suddenly muffled children laughter from around corner. Look in each other and noped it the fuck out of there. Another experience of mine. About 1 year later. Buddy and I are on shift together. He's a clairvoyant. Sees spirits often and shit. We go for shits and giggles. Fear has diminished over time. Walking around talking, nothing really happening. Bat flies overhead, scares the shit out of me. Look over to mate. That freaked me the fuck out. Haha pussy. Split up and look around a bit. Walk into the same room again and both look into the same corner. Looks like shadow of a man pissing. Hey, you could be in here. Looks like a head turning into glowing red eyes. I shit you fucking not. Shine meg light at the motherfucker. Nothing. Decide to leave. Friend comes to work the week after since we were not on road cycle anymore. Anon, my kid walked into my room the other night. And? He said, Daddy, I saw a tall man in my closet, he had red eyes. Says his kids had nightmares for months about a tall man with red eyes. Had house blessed. The nightmares eventually stopped. Here's one from William Beaumont. About half of the hospital is actually vacant. They moved the 11 West Wing and all other wings into the main building for some reason. Mostly just offices in the other parts now. Working swings again. Waiting in ER waiting room. Decide to do an area check. Really just want to explore. Walking around and reach a hallway. Walk down to check the door. It's locked. Start to walk back to get keys. Hear a knock at the door. Turn around to see a silhouette, can't quite see any details. What the fuck? Walk towards the door to investigate. Get closer and see a middle-aged man, unkempt hair, in a hospital gown. About 20 feet away, and he turns around and starts walking away. Speed walk to the door and peer through glass. Nothing but a long dim hallway lit by secondary emergency lights. Walk back to ER waiting room desk. Tell clerk what I saw. That's the old 11 West Wing, been closed for 2 years, she says. We go and unlock door. Walk down hall and all other doors are locked, no sign of that man. This one didn't spook me as much as the others. It was odd because I swear it looked just like a living person. OP here, there is one more building that I actually have never had the opportunity to go into, although I have seen it and read some history about it. It is potentially the most famous haunted building on Fort Bliss. It's called Building 4. The story behind this building is that it was built in 1914, and its sole purpose was an isolation ward for sick and dying soldiers. It was not built to serve as a morgue, but it did serve as one temporarily when the nearby morgue building 9 filled up after flu pandemic and other diseases swept the area. Some experiences said to be had here are sightings of doctors in old uniforms, women in old nurse outfits, as well as men in old cav uniforms, Stetson, knee-high boots, the whole 9 yards. Sorry if not as interesting. Also have heard a story of an MP who sat in his car at dusk waiting outside the building before patrolling the area. New to the area, he squinted at the sign out front trying to read the building number and read what he thought was a 9. As he got out of his car to make sure, he saw that he was outside Building 4. As he looked up at the building at one of the windows, he said he saw a man in an old cav uniform holding a lantern. He did a double take, and by the time he looked back, the man was gone. There are a ton of these stories always about seeing a man in an old cav uniform. Before the building was boarded up, people who working in the building said they would hear toilets flush late at night, and hear a coughing and footsteps in other rooms. Once again, it's me, OP. I heard of a story of a man who committed suicide in the 11 West Wing. Nothing too crazy or spooky about that one, just a mentally ill man who killed himself. Heard different stories. 1. Got a hold of an extension cord somehow and hung himself. Harder to believe this one because in the army, when you are on suicide watch, they take all sharp objects away from you, as well as stuff like rope ties, shoelaces, and belts. It seems they would have a pretty close watch on these patients. 2. Cut his wrist open using the little serrated metal edge used to tear off paper towels in a bathroom. Not sure how I feel about that. Anyway, this might be the man I saw while walking around in Beaumont. OP here. I'm going to post 3 pictures of the area I had to take from Google Earth, since I literally cannot for the life of me find a photo of the CDC. Might go take north soon, seeing as how the map image does not do it justice. This is just for a general idea of the area. In this photo I have circled the parking lot which I was waiting for my mate in the first story. The parking lot directly behind the building is a lot closer but infinitely darker at night. Also, seeing how far away I was parked, even being at the closest edge of the lot, shows that the scream was pretty fucking loud. Lastly is an image to show the distance between the CDC and William Beaumont. The parking lot circled in the upper quadrant of the photo is the lower parking lot of Beaumont for employees. The little roundabout in between is the actual gate to get back onto post. I hope this makes it easier to understand my reference as to how the CDC is not technically on post anymore, so hobos and such can easily break in. OP here. This doesn't have anything to do with the series of events and post I have previously out up. Just another note situation. This photo was taken on a ghost tour I went on not too long ago in El Paso with my wife and some friends. The hood wasn't taken by us but rather someone else in the group. The cemetery is called the Concordia Cemetery, supposedly the most haunted cemetery in this area. There is a lot of stuff that has happened here, not just paranormal but other stuff. For example, there is a small mausoleum in the center of the cemetery that contains the family of an old mayor and himself. Supposedly grave robbers broke into it and stole the head and left hand of the mayor's wife. The cemetery then opted to cement over the entrance and put wrought iron gates around it. A year later, the left hand of the mayor's wife was found resting on the stairs to the mausoleum. Anyway, back to the story at hand. On this tour we come to the children's section of the cemetery, which is marked by an old-fashioned baby crib, you know, the kind that rocks side to side. Inside there is an old-style Raggedy Ann doll which has a K2 meter stuffed into it, those F readers that light up when ghosts are around supposedly. So we are all listening to some of the stories behind some of the graves. Most are walking around snapping pictures with our cell phones, some have digital cameras. One lady snaps a picture as we start to walk away and looks at it. I distinctly remember the guy she was with standing a few feet from me and losing all color to his face as he said, "No fucking way, what the fuck is that?" We all gather round and investigate the photo to see what appears to be an outline of a little girl standing behind a headstone. The K2 meter had gone off a few seconds before we left, but I thought nothing of it. Shit gave me the willies.jpg. This is a picture of the cradle. Apparently the reason behind the Raggedy Ann doll is that child spirits will be more likely to interact with the doll than with a small white box with lights on it. Smart, I think. Also there is a part of the cemetery they call Hell's Gate, which is called this because people will climb the walls and perform rituals down there. There have been ritualistic symbols as well as objects found in this corner, and a lot of the headstones with crosses are broken and the crosses are cemented upside down. Just kind of gives off a spooky vibe. Our tour guide that night told us of a tour where they found a jawbone to a cow wrapped in a bloody pair of men's underpants. I wish I had the picture she showed us. What the fuck kind of ritual is that? OP here, going to attempt to green text a story told by someone else in their point of view. Hope that makes sense. Be Sergeant Anon. It's 2010. Regular night on swings. Building checks in area tonight. God damn it, I hate that shit. Back then SOP stated you had to perimeter check every building. Doing every building but avoiding the CDC. Last building in area. Fucking hell.jpg. Walking quickly around building doing half-assed check. Want to get the fuck out of there. Reach front of building and notice door is open. What the fuck? Padlock on the ground. Not cut, just unlocked. Nope nope nope. Shine light into building. Call from outside, this is the Fort Bliss Military Police, is there anyone in there? Wait a moment and repeat. Nothing. Call over radio, White Cell, this is Patrol X, I have a request for backup in Area Z, I have an unsecured building with no trace of persons inside. Oh. Good copy, I'll send Patrol Y your way. Patrol shows up. Hey SPC Anon, want to clear this building with me real fast? Fuck man, I guess. I start to walk in with my patrol behind me, weapons drawn for obvious reasons. Bullets can kill ghosts, right? Start into the main room, almost trip and die on something. Look down, it's an old kid's toy, team press car. Toys are still all over in this place. Clear the main level. Now upstairs. Walk halfway up the steps and see something at the top. As I crest the top of the steps, there is a bed from one of the rooms up here. It's moved 5 feet from the edge of the stairs and completely made. As if someone just left it for the day. Fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. Patrol and I keep moving down the hall at a faster pace. I want to be out of here. Enter last room and hear the bed move. Call out, Anon, was that you? While walking into the hallway. Coming out of the room directly across from me was a pale-faced SPC Anon. I fucking thought that was you, Sergeant. No hope no. Start to run towards the stairs, and as I pass I notice the bed was turned cockeyed now. Got a glimpse of the overturned sheets. As I'm running down the stairs I feel quick pressure on my back. Like someone pushed with one hand hard. Caught myself before falling forward and realize my patrol was in front of me. Get back to parking lot, panting and hunched over. Heart pounding in my head. Call over radio, White Cell, this is Patrol X and Y, Area Z is all clear. Say no words to each other and nope the fuck out of there. Since then the door has been nailed shut, but there is a rear access door covered in brush that most people use. Another story. B-buddy on shift. Called out to CDC. Call came from residential area nearby, Apparently loud banging noises coming from that area. Patrol with on-job trainee, OJT, responds. Inside the building they find a young man very skittish. Will not respond to any questioning. Cuff him and bring him to PMO for more questioning. Guy has one handcuffed to a bench. OJT notices red marks on arm. The kind you get when someone grabs your arm really hard but hasn't bruised yet. How hard did you grab his arm, man? I didn't, grabbed him by the cuffs. Check this out JPG. Guy still hasn't spoken a word. OJT is standing about a foot away from Guy waiting for other officer to get back with paperwork. All of a sudden, dude lunges out and bites OJT's hand between thumb and forefinger. Latches on, won't let go. Other officer comes and drives nightstick into Guy's temple. Won't let go. Almost sounds as if he's growling. Normal human guttural growling. Officer says fuck this. Taser taser taser. Drive stuns that motherfucker in the top of the shoulder. Guy lets go. Taser last 5 long motherfucking seconds. OJT gets taken to ER. Needed a few stitches. Turns out the guy was a soldier. Blood alcohol level .00. Not diabetic. No prescriptions found. Urinalysis negative. Got him for breaking and entering as well as assaulting a military policeman. OJT won't take calls in that area anymore, still has scar on his hand. I actually saw the tape from the PMO of this one, shit was super crazy. Okay, so this is going to be a long one but bear with me. I was asking a couple of guys who I have worked the road with about the CDC. At first we were just talking about random shit and smoking. I said, have you guys ever been up to the CDC? One guy looks at the other. Pauses, and says, hey man, I have to go. Or something like that. Hops in his truck and drives off. Didn't think much of it really. Continue the conversation. Anon that is left begins to tell me a story. I will green text after I tell you this. They were using one of those dinky ghost apps that comes up with one word every so often and it changes. Supposedly what a ghost is trying to say to you. Secondly, the company they were with deployed in February 2012 got back in November 2012. On July 8, 2012 they lost 6 men in an IED attack on the convoy. It was 200 pounds of homemade explosives and opened up the MRAP like a can of sardines. There's a video on Live Leak but I can't find it at the moment. The 6 who died were Staff Sergeant Keque, Specialist Pardo, Specialist Adkins, Private First Class Stamble, Private First Class Alexan, Specialist Will. Now for green text, let's call guy who left Anon 1 and guy telling me story Anon 2. Be Anon 2. With Anon 1. Go to check out CDC. Dicking around with Ghost Finder app. Bullshit words like hand, or Richard. Coming up. Words start getting more accurate. Toy. Old. Children. Spooked out but think it's awesome. Walking around having fun with words. Anon 1 takes phone and walks into the main room on main level. Phone says, behind. Anon 1 stops. Slowly turns. Doesn't see anything. You. Suddenly a short scratching noise on the wall Anon 1 is looking at. I found you. Phone says. Says app is only designed to do one word at a time. What? The fuck? They are super creeped but stay anyway. Only single words again. They are standing there silently. Have. Anon 1, what do you have? Them. Who is them? Tell me who you fucking have. Keep in mind the app has names programmed into it but common names, like Sophia and Jeffrey and Carlos. Shit like that. Keque. What the fuck? Both frozen. Will. The name came up after about 30 seconds. Anon 2 said it felt like a lifetime. They start to go faster. Alexan, Pardo, Stamble, Adkins. Anon 1 starts crying, almost sobbing. Looks at phone. Chucks it at the ground. Anon 2 runs over, picks up phone and grabs Anon 1 by the collar and starts pulling him outside. Anon 1 is uncontrollably sobbing, like borderline panic attack. Put him in car and drive away. Spend rest of shift consoling Anon 1. He never says anything about it again. Apparently he doesn't tell many people, but Anon 1 is a close friend and told me.